Welcome to another episode of Healing Chat from Talicious, created by Cass UK. On today's episode, we do not have any external guests, it's just gonna be Samantha and I chatting with you guys. We're gonna dive into topics like, knowing when to let go, knowing when to say no. This is something we find difficult to do. We're gonna speak about ADHD, and we're gonna talk about, having boundaries without guilt, which is something that we need to be having.
Yes.
Without no doubt about that. So make sure that you are following, subscribing. If you love chat like this, make sure you're sharing our podcast to your family, to your friends, and to your groups. So let's dive into it.
Let's go.
When we talk about setting limits and boundaries, what is that?
See, it can be so many different things, but to me, setting a boundary is knowing when something is either out of your moral capability or out of your physical capability or just something you don't agree with, but having the confidence and the thing and the self-belief, I suppose, to turn around and say no and not just go along with it and do it.
That's true as well. Why do you feel like people find it difficult to say no?
Take pressure. People around you, things like that. I think pressure is a massive thing that filters into not being able to say no. And there's that people pleasing aspect to it of always falling into the trap of, I used to feel really guilty for saying no, but it could be something simple like someone asked, can you meet this day for a coffee?
Yeah.
I would say yes, even though I knew I literally might have had 20 minutes. I would try and fit so much into a day because I couldn't tell someone no because I felt like I was disappointing that person.
Yes.
And it was the thought of disappointing someone.
Yes, yeah. So what changed?
What changed? A lot.
You don't have a burnout because that's most of the times that's what happens. People get into that crashed point where they have burnout and then
I don't know if it was so much of a burnout of a realization. Don't get me wrong, I still do it. To an extent. There is still times that I'm like, I really shouldn't have said I would do this. Or there is times that I put too much on my plate. But I think it was the realization of I can't actually help people and do all these things that I'm trying to do.
Yes, yeah.
And to the best of my ability, if I keep going the way I'm going and if I keep just trying to fit all this in. And it was also the realization of how many of these people would do the same for me.
That is very powerful. That is very, very powerful as well. Because you realize as well, I was just having a chat with the young lady as well. She's going to come on the podcast in the next few weeks. And one of the things I told her was who pours into us?
Yeah.
You get to a point where you pour into other people and pour into other people and then you wake up one day and you're empty.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Literally, I saw a quote the other week and it was, how was it? It was, I checked your cup to see if you had enough. You checked mine to see if I had more than you. We're not the same.
Yes. Clock on that.
Yeah.
So basically it's but there are people as well that we have in our life. They just come in to take and take, and that's what they take.
Yeah. They're just taking.
They just check to see if you have enough for them to take.
Yeah. If you've got enough that I can borrow from that, but it's not even borrowing, because happily, you give that piece of if they're going to give it back, and we don't give to receive. I'm not saying we give to receive. Yeah. That's not true. But at the same time, there has to be some give and take.
That's what it is. That's what it is. But it's just about also having that limit.
I blocked everyone, I actually went through a phase. It was literally 2 years ago. I had a group of people I was really, really close to.
Yeah.
I thought I was really, really close to them. They did wrong after wrong to me, and I just kept going.
Yes,
Kept giving them this, kept doing this, kept running here, doing this, doing that. And in the end, there was about 4 of them. I just turned around and blocked them all.
Yeah.
And didn't give them any reason, anything. Just, I'm sorry, but I don't need you in my life if you are not going to at least meet me halfway.
Yeah. It's supposed to be give and take. It's like everything as well in business, in personal life, in relationship as well.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important as well. But the act of saying no is something that we're going to practice, by the way. I'm just going to give you guys a takeaway right here. Well, a takeaway on how to say no. You could say no, and so for a good example could be something I spoke a lot about in the Talicious way, Detox Your Body and Life, the act of saying no. So someone can say, do you mind borrowing me X amount of money and I would give it to you next week? And you might feel guilty. You might be like, oh my gosh, this person has this problem. I need to solve it. I need to help them. But deep down, you might not be able to do that. Number one, they're not going to give you back that money. They're not going to give you back that money. And number two, you actually need that money more than they need it. So in saying no, you probably wouldn't say no abruptly. No, I'm not going to do that. That might be rude. That might not come out well. You could say, you know what, why don't we look at another way of like solving the problem? Because sometimes when people might have a problem, they think like it's just one that's going to solve it. You can offer suggestion.
Yeah.
You can also offer them a suggestion of like, why don't you look at taking a loan for that?
Try and find a different solution to the problem.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So in this way, you haven't literally said, you've said no, but you haven't said that. You've given them,
You haven't said, I'm not helping you.
You've given them an alternative. You de-escalated that. And that's like, if it's someone that understands, they would understand that. Or you could also say, you know what, I wish I could help, but at the moment I've got XIZ problem of my own, which requires me to be able to focus on it at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about wording as well, and it's how you come across to people, isn't it?
So these are the practice you can do in saying no, but definitely you're gonna feel more peaceful. You're gonna feel more happier. And actually, I'm someone that used to say yes, but not yes, friend. There was a point like I used to say yes. Like when someone want to borrow some, I don't know why people always thought I had money. I don't know why. I get went to, but like everyone borrow from me, and they wouldn't give back.
Yeah, I hate that. I hate when people lend money and don't pay you.
Because they think like I have the money and they wouldn't give it back. And that's what it is. And at some point I realized, you know what, that's what is happening. They think I've got the money and then they would bury it and they wouldn't give it back to me because they think I have it. And most of these times as well, it's like, and then I woke up one day and I realized, you know what, I started the project of Talicious, by the way, which took a lot of finances because I bootstrapped Talicious by myself. So I went through a phase where I was dried out. I didn't have money. And then I went into and most of these people, they didn't even borrow money to me up to these days. I have one of them that's still owing me. I was at a point where it's like, I want to borrow some money and need that money and I'm going to give it back to you end of the month. I didn't get the money from them.
So if you're watching,
right. So that's what it is. And I understand why I understand that. So half my money anyway. That's what it is.
Anyway, moving on. Moving swiftly on.
Let's go. Knowing when to let go is also very important. It's another one. Knowing when to let go, knowing when to
away. And it's walking away from whether it be a situation or a relationship or even like a family dynamic. Like I've never been in the position of walking away from a family dynamic. Well, I have in terms of certain people, but never like the family. But there's so many different situations that you can be in and have to walk away. But it's finding and realizing when to and when maybe you are just being a bit overzealous sort of thing.
A good example I'll give to that is like, with like building Talicious as a business as well. And I mean, like my life is centered around Talicious. Don't worry, you're going to hear so much examples from Talicious. My brother was just telling me, I was talking about Portugal, Afro Nation. A few days ago, my brother's going to Afro Nation.
All right.
And then I was like, I'm going to come with you. And then after I was like, I don't think I'm going to come. If it's not something that is like, if it's a business networking event, yes, I would come. He was like, everything is about business. You should have fun or something like that. So my life is centered around, Talicious. I'm going to give a good example. A good example is like, we try to do an offer. We try to add an add-on offer with Talicious, right? Now, again, that's something like we worked on, we pushed on it, and then I woke up one and I realized, you know what? I think it's time to walk away. Even though we put a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy into it, I realized it's time to walk away. But how did I come to that realization that it's not going to work? Because also that's something I also speak about in business. Like you have to be persistent. You have to be consistent. But it's very, very, you need to listen to this, especially if you have a business. You need to understand when, that venture is not going to work.
No.
I'm not going to put much of my more time into that. I need to either pivot or change.
Yeah.
So I realized why I walked away from that is because I realized like most of the resources that is going to be needed for that project is not going to come. It's going to be from external resources.
Yeah.
And when you rely on external resources to be able to fund the project or to be able to do something, there is a high chance of that failing. That's what it is.
Because you haven't got it within yourself.
That's right. So that's what it is. So this is one of the things you realize, you know what, it's time to walk away. If it's in a relationship, you realize, you know what, I'm the only one that is giving. I'm the one that is pouring into this relationship. The other person is not pouring in. It's time to walk away. It's time to choose yourself. What other example do you think?
No, yeah, that is a really good example. I think the walking away thing, it's really hard. And I think that's something I struggle with, walking away from people.
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily things. Things, I'm very much, my mind will focus on something else. I'm like, bye, that's fine.
Yeah.
But people, I find it really hard to walk away, and I probably stay too long.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but then that only becomes a detriment to yourself.
Yes, yeah.
It's the same with the thing before, I suppose, like the setting limits and setting boundaries. You've not set those boundaries, so you're now in a situation where you're just giving, or you're not even necessarily giving. It could be you're walking away for other reasons. It could be it just doesn't, your values maybe don't align. Or maybe you've changed and you're becoming a different person, and again, you don't align. But for me, it's always hard to walk away from people because in your head, you're losing all those memories that you've made and things like that. But you've still got all those memories.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's the idea of, was it just all a waste?
Yes, yes. I see. So you're thinking of like the time you invested into that. So, but I would look at it from like if that is not serving you anymore, the faster you walk away, the faster it's gonna take for you to heal.
Yeah.
Because it's like you. A good example is gonna be like you're in deep shit, you're in a bucket of shit, right? You stay in that shit. The longer you stay in that shit, the longer.
Yeah. The harder it gets to breathe.
So that's what it is. So you just get away from it, and then you're gonna find your way. You're gonna wash, and then you're gonna move on. That's what it is. And it's easier said than done. Don't. I agree with you on that. If you watch, I agree with you on that. But it's about also understanding like whatever is happening, someone else has been there, and it gets better.
Yeah. That's the thing. It always listening and focusing on it will get better. It does get better.
Yeah.
You just got to put the time into it.
Yeah. And time heals everything. That's for sure. Time heals everything. So the next one we're going to be discussing right here is the line between repairable.
The line between repairable strains, it's the same as the walking away. So know when it's repairable.
And then staying or walking away. Yeah. Right. You know, ADHD is something that is like popping up quite a lot. And it's something that we're not speaking so much about. Like, I think like people are throwing the words about, I've got OCD, I've got this as well. What do you think about that?
I think people do just throw it around all the time. Whatever thing it is, whatever mental health thing it is, but in some ways is that creating conversation at the same time. Like, it's creating the conversation that wasn't previously there in sort of different environments and things like that. Yeah, don't get us wrong. Sometimes there's people are talking and they don't have maybe the knowledge, or they don't have the thing, and that can become a bad thing because people are maybe listening to them.
Yeah.
Like, especially if they are like an influencer or someone like that.
Yes.
And they're talking about it and they don't have the knowledge or they don't have the understanding, then people are taking what they say for Bible. And that's not necessarily the right thing, like that they should be doing or they should be listening to. But at the same time, is it still creating a conversation around mental health, around things like that is needed?
Do you think it takes away from the real conversation? Like, for example, because people are saying that it gets so normalized that the person that actually has the issue, when they come up and say it, people are like,
yeah, it's just whatever.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
Do you think? Yeah.
And I think everyone thinks that everyone just says it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So, before I got diagnosed with ADHD, I had loads of people saying to us, why do you want the diagnosis? You don't need the diagnosis, blah, blah. And I was like, it's for me. It's not for anyone else.
Yeah.
It's so I understand the way my brain works and I can do whatever, blah, blah. But a lot of people whenever I say to people, I have ADHD, they always say, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you buzzing about that? But then you talk to them more and you realise, maybe you don't. Like, you're just taking the symptoms you've seen on TikTok and on this and on that and putting it into yourself. So I do know what you mean. I do agree with that as well.
Do you think we should have a lot more light shined on like the symptoms? Also, I think ADHD is like a spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like autistic spectrum.
Yeah, it's like a spectrum. Like, it can like affect different people in different ways.
Yeah.
And also it's like, what changed after you realized you have the diagnosis? What changed?
So I only actually got the diagnosis, a year ago or something like that. But that was because I'd been on the waiting list for 5 years.
Yeah. NHS is like takes long to get left.
Yeah. But when I got the diagnosis, it was more, so I cried when I got the diagnosis.
Why did you cry?
Because my mum cried.
Okay.
And my mum cried because she thought she'd failed at me in terms of she thought that, like she should have done this years before and all of this. But my mum and dad actually let me come to the realisation on my own about my ADHD before we went for tests and things like that. My mum works with certain children. She's always worked in that environment.
Yeah.
So she recognised it in us anyway.
Mm.
But she knew if she came to me and said it when I was younger, I would have just been like, "You're wrong, I'm not getting tested."
Yeah.
She let me come to her and say it.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Right, okay, we'll get sorted, do all this." And then when I finally got the diagnosis, she was like, "I wish I'd done this years ago for you."
Yeah.
And I wish I'd done something. But for me, it was sad to see that it affected her that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, it's not going to change me, and it doesn't change who I am. At the end of the day, it's part of me. It's who I am. I can work with it or I can work against it.
That's true, yeah.
But at the same time, it was a nice, I don't know, maybe like breath that I would take to be like the reasons of the way I've gone on in situations or the way I've reacted to this. Or when I can't get out of bed and I don't know why, and everyone else around me is like, just do it, just get up, just do the dishes, just do this. And I don't know why I physically can't. It was like, right, okay, there is a reason. I'm not just like being stupid.
Yeah.
Like there is a reason behind it. And I think those conversations are so important. And especially within a relationship.
Yeah.
So like I used to, when I first got with my partner now, I used to send him videos on burnout and things like that, on ADHD burnout, so he could understand.
Yeah.
And that I wasn't just being lazy and things like that. Because that's what you get called, that you're lazy, you're this, you're that. So I used to send videos, and it was a way of me communicating what I needed from him to help him support me.
Yes, that's actually very, very good and true as well, because it's very important as well. It's like if you're in a relationship, for you to be able to communicate how you're feeling with the other person. I was just speaking about it on the podcast, on the podcast the other day, and I was talking about like my postpartum journey and how I had postpartum depression and all of that. I didn't even realize that's what was going on until I realized it.
Yeah.
You know, something like, being in the medical field, yes, there's postpartum depression, there's things as well, but you don't realize it's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But now one of the things I did when I realized it was like communicating with my husband and saying, this is what it is. And with postpartum depression, obviously, like you get triggered by everything. I'm hormonal, I'm this as well. And I was wondering, like, why would things that wouldn't upset me?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So, but when I had that discussion with him, it made the difference.
Yes,
he realized, okay, this is what is going on with my wife. Then I have to give her space. I have to breathe, let her breathe. I have to do this as well. So it's very important as well to have that communication with your partner, with your friend.
Absolutely.
But the thing about, now, let's go back to
Let's go.
with ADHD now, what happens with ADHD? You talk about the lazy part, right? So why you say like in ADHD, but anyway, I'm gonna circle back to that. Right. For example, the little house chores, like maybe washing the plates, cooking, doing laundry might be so difficult. But boom, I'm gonna go start a business.
Literally. Tell me to put the dishes, tell me to put the washing away, and it's sat on the bed for 6 days. But tell me to go and like, I don't know, do something really strenuous.
Yeah.
But creative. I think it's the creative thing. And also ADHD is triggered and driven by spite. Did you know that?
By spite, what's that?
So someone else says I can't do something.
Oh, and then you're like,
I can do it, and I'll do it in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So like that, so like my sisters used to tell me to go upstairs and get things because it made me do it. So they'd say, but they didn't know I had ADHD at this point. So I don't know why they did, but they realized that it was. Go, well, Tanya, go and get this. Oh, my room, sorry. And I run up those stairs. So if you've got something that's driving you, and if you're passionate about it, that's what it is.
That's what it's
passionate.
Yeah.
So if you find something you're passionate about, something you love, even if it's for 2 days, you're going to focus totally on it and build that business up. So many people with ADHD start businesses. I actually was watching Sarah Davies talk about it. I was watching a video on Sarah talking about it. She's got what's called combined ADHD, which is what I've got as well. So I was watching her talking about it and talking about how so many business owners, entrepreneurs, millionaires, One day, guys, one day, ADHD. And that is because we can hyper focus on something and we can put all of our mind and our focus really onto something and get it thingy, but we have to have the passion in it. And once that passion goes, we walk away.
But that's the thing as well. It's like in business. That's why most like you said, most ADHD people will succeed in business. So with me, anyway, when I was growing up in Nigeria, I lived in Nigeria up to the age of 19. People who don't have diagnosis for this anyway. People will say, oh, that's how this person behaves. And most of the times, it could get you into like, you do this, you do that, you do this. And then they will say, oh, this person has started doing this and doing that as well. But later on, I mean, like I'm 35 years now. So later on in life, that's when I started understanding that's what I have.
Yeah.
I haven't got like the official diagnosis for it, but I'm like conscious of like that. Yeah. And my husband tells me the type of like passion I have for Delicious, if I could take that and go into any big company, I'm gonna be paid like 6-7 figures.
Yeah.
Because like